Yo, 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 guys, it's Old Man G here back again for another live match preview Red Devil Studio. I am joined by Kyle from Newcastle United Fans TV. Carl, man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Very well, thank you for having me on. How are yourself? How's yourself, rather?
Okay. Certainly after the last 5 minutes, I think just the last 5 minutes have been quite good actually. So for me, not necessarily for certain scousers from the Anfield area, but certainly for me, I've taken a lot of pleasure in the last five minutes or so. Um, Remember, guys, if you're new to the channel, to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter, We Unite X, and smash the notification button. Latest United news, and also head over to Newcastle Fans TV. Show them some love and subscribe to them as well. So this is obviously our Manchester United versus Newcastle match preview. Before we get into it, Carl, just a bit about yourself, a bit about Newcastle Fan TV, like what do you guys do, and how have you guys been doing?
Yeah, my name's Carl. I'm from the Midlands. My dad's from Newcastle, so I had no choice in supporting Newcastle, which is probably a good thing because well, that being said, Villa have done all right this season. But yeah, season ticket holder. I do a 500-mile round trip every other weekend, which is probably ridiculous. Luckily, was able to join Newcastle Fans TV last year. And we just trying to Lee who runs the channel wanted to kind of refresh it and just take it in a more positive direction in terms of getting a lot more people who content savvy, if that makes sense, people that have worked on YouTube and stuff before. So yeah, we're doing really well. We're one of the larger Newcastle fan channels, I would say. Lee would usually say the largest, but I don't like to get into any beef with anyone because that usually tends to happen quite a bit. Yeah, like to do a lot of videos like yourself, mate. Lineup predictions, previews, live watch-alongs. Obviously, when we're back at games, we'll do a lot of stuff with fans outside as well. It's been really good. I mean, although lockdown's been a horrible thing for all of us, I think it's been a positive thing for the platform that we're doing and you're doing yourself. Like, it's been a great outlet for everyone. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Cool, appreciate it, bro. So, I mean, let's get straight into it. I mean, I think the first thing, I've obviously been seeing a lot of what you guys post. I do follow you guys on Twitter and just Newcastle in general because I do live up in Newcastle. So Newcastle's kind of like a second team to me, and I like to see them do well, especially in the days when there was the whole Newcastle-Sunderland rivalry, and you know what's going on with Sunderland right now. Although they have been taken over by a 23-year-old young billionaire, which I thought was quite interesting. So,
and I think they won today as well, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. So fingers crossed that that stays there. It doesn't sort of rear its head because I mean, yeah, that we could keep an eye on that. But bro, what's going on at Newcastle? Bruce in, Bruce out. Ashley, the whole works. Like, where do you begin? What's going on?
I think everyone Newcastle, like a lot of it's been projected onto Steve Bruce this season, and I think rightly so for a lot of the performances. But if we're all honest with ourselves, it stems from the top, which it's been toxic. Maybe since the season after that Mike Ashley took over. And it's just he's been penny pinching like he does with Sports Direct. He runs it in that sort of business model. So trying to bring players in on the cheap, which he's done great ones in the past. Don't get me wrong, the likes of Musa Sissoko, Kabay. We've got lucky with people like that. But far too often we get in, no disrespect to the players, but championship caliber players and trying to play them in the Premier League. And we're getting found out now, and we have been over the last few seasons. Steve Bruce, he wasn't immediately rejected from fans, regardless of his affiliation with Sunderland. I think what it was is that everyone realised he's not someone that's going to take the club forward. He's someone to try and keep you in the Premier League, and Newcastle fans want more than that. We often get probably tainted with a brush that we expect too much, but we don't. We just want to start pushing for 11th, 10th place, and then start pushing on from there. Which I thought, credit to Steve Bruce, I thought he had a good season last season. I think everyone would say that.
Yeah.
So we thought if we push on from there, get to 10th and just keep building and building. But it's just been an absolute nightmare, mate. Nightmare.
What do you think? What do you think that is? Do you think that's predominantly because of the lack of backing in the summer, or all the chaos that was going on? Do you think it's actually him tactically, the way that you're playing football? If you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I think For me, it's definitely tactics because I actually thought he recruited quite well in the summer, to be honest.
I did as well,
Especially
yeah.
Baker. Callum Wilson, Jamal Lewis again. And Jamal Lewis, no disrespect, has had a terrible season. Jeff Hendrick, I was even okay with because he works hard. And I thought, we do need a bit more bite in the midfield to help out Isaac Hayden, but he hasn't, done the job. And tactically, we were just sitting back from the offset. What done it for me, and it's not because I'm from the Midlands, is when Aston Villa went out and showed absolutely no respect to Liverpool and put 7 past them. And yet we want to sit basically 10 men behind the ball and leave Joe Linton up top on his own or Callum Wilson. And it's just, I put a lot of it down to his tactics. And then pushing on from there, I think the players have just got a poor attitude at the moment as well.
Yeah, because if I'm perfectly honest, I actually thought that Newcastle had a better transfer window than Manchester United. I know that's saying a lot. So, but I was literally, I remember posting a tweet being like, I don't get on this. It's a bad world as a United fan when Mike Ashley seems to be spending not only more money but getting more recruitments than Manchester United. That this shouldn't happen, So, because obviously the likes of Callum Wilson, of Jamal Lewis, of what's his name, Fraser Foster as well. I was like, these are good buys. If Newcastle with these buys on top of the team they have, when you go like say Maximum that's there as well, and obviously Lascelles centre back and the good goalkeeper you have is solid. They should at least be minimum mid. I think in 10th, 9th, that type of sort of thing, and then maybe they could do a surprise. But you're right, it hasn't seemed to have gone that way, and I guess the follow-up question would be before we even go into the match is do you think that does Steve Bruce get another season? Who else comes in? Like what's the current perception of Newcastle fans now? Is it just a kind of grim and bear it now?
I do genuinely think it's getting there. Like everyone really wants Steve Bruce to go, but I think a lot of people are starting to think we're going to have to grin and bear it because obviously there was all the talk of the takeover, and I personally think it's dead in the water in terms of that actually happening. I know there's arbitration and things like that going on, but I personally don't think it's going to happen, and I'd rather not know about it until it does. If it does, fantastic. But what worries me is that if it was going to happen, that Mike Ashley being the astute businessman he's supposed to be, you'd have thought would have tried to protect his asset, and it doesn't seem that he's doing that right now. So
what is Mike Ashley doing? Like, what is he? What's his with the whole code? Is it just because obviously with what's going on with the pandemic, is it just more of a question of like trying to preserve what he has, if that makes any sense? Or...
I think so. I think he believes that Steve Bruce is going to keep us in the league, and I think that was Steve Bruce's remit. He come out and said that basically I was given the task to keep us in the league, and was like, okay, that's not what we want to hear. But when he said that, we were 10th in the league, and then we've just plummeted. And all I hear, Mike Ashley's currently out in the UAE at the moment doing something to do with business. Whether that's got anything to do with the takeover, I don't know. I don't think it has, but it seems he's still more interested in his other business ventures rather than the football club. And I don't blame him in that sense because he was open and honest about trying to sell Newcastle last season, and none of this was his fault at all. I think he was genuine in doing that, but it just didn't happen at the end of the day.
Well, Moses one says that Klopp might be available soon. So imagine that. Imagine at the end of the season, Jurgen Klopp holding a Newcastle FC shirt. So I don't think you see many Newcastle fans complain, though. With what he's going, if it's just that you've got another manager who's basically using what he has from an American ownership that doesn't really spend that amount much money. So maybe Klopp would be the right fit for Liverpool. You don't know.
What do you make of all this Liverpool fans talking about apparently they're going to get Mbappe in the summer? What do you think about that?
Liverpool were getting Mbappe in the summer.
That's what they're saying.
I don't know how, because the thing is that from what I'm understanding is that he's going into his final year of his contract next season. So if Liverpool can't, if he's going to go, he's not going to go for any less than 100 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just can't see Liverpool FC, spending 100 million on a single player.
No, nor me, mate.
So if he's going to go to Liverpool, he's going to go to Liverpool for free. To be honest, I can't think of any team around Europe right now that has the money to spend 100 million in the summer, except for PSG themselves and possibly Chelsea. I wouldn't even say City because City don't tend to spend that huge amounts on a single player. So yeah, they can talk about it, but their owners, don't spend that money, So
No, definitely.
it was which says that he might be, but I don't think Ashley will get him and give him any cash. But that's what I'm saying. Like that, like Klopp seems to can work in teams where he's barely got any money, and like Dortmund is a classic example of a team that barely spent money and was constantly getting the players poached from bigger teams.
Yeah,
But worked on that. That's kind of like how Newcastle is run right now. Like barely spend any money, and when they have really good players, they're poached away. So
yeah.
it's a good environment. So so let's just quickly move on just to like how we're seeing this game going forward. I mean, are there many major injuries from Newcastle right now, and how are you guys going into this game?
Yeah, Callum Wilson's out for 8 weeks, immediately we're like, we've got the third worst goal difference in the league, and we're going down because we're not going to get goals. That's what the worry is. It's okay sitting 10 member on the ball trying not to get beat, but at some point you're going to concede, and if we can't score goals, then we're buggered. So I genuinely think it's going to be a toss-up between Carl Darlow and Martin Dubravka. I don't want Darlow to lose his spot because I think he's been excellent this season, but he has probably, since Dubravka's been back and on the bench, I think it might have got in Darlow's head a little bit that he's aware that he's there and he's been making a few mistakes. So it'll be a toss-up between those two. I'd like to see Darlow start. In terms of the back five, we've got hardly any defenders left at the moment. So, oh God, who would start? I'm trying to think. Manquillo's injured, I believe.
So you're injury-ridden Newcastle squad, basically.
Yeah.
So this is not
which is bad because we've got no depth as it is.
I mean, here's a question. So I've just looked at the table right now, and obviously Fulham are playing Sheffield United as we speak. And we see what happens in that game. Right now, obviously Fulham, having played a game more, have got 20 points, and Newcastle have 5 points. Do you think that there is a genuine danger that Newcastle could be relegated this season?
I really do. And I think a lot of fans are starting to look at it that way as well, because Fulham are playing better football than we are at the moment, and they look like a team that want to stay in the league. Okay. Newcastle against Chelsea. Look, don't get me wrong, take nothing away from Chelsea. They're far better than we are, but there was absolutely zero effort from the Newcastle players in that game.
Yeah.
Talks come out that Jamal Lascelles has had a bust up in the changing room with Steve Bruce afterwards as well. Okay. That's the second time that's come out this season, which won't surprise me. So yeah, I'm worried, mate. I'm really worried. I think with the games that we've got coming up as well, obviously yourself, I don't expect to get a result from Manchester United. Okay. We've got Wolves after that. I think we might have Aston Villa after that. We've got a couple of tough games after that as well. But Fulham have obviously got Sheffield United tonight. If they get a result, we're really in trouble. But then that being said, they've also got a tough run of games. I think they've got maybe yourselves, they've got Liverpool, they've got Man City, they've got Chelsea, all upcoming in the next 10 weeks. So I was just going to say, I can just bring up the next. So I think looking at the next 5, I would put my computer's buffering. So I think so Fulham have the next 5 games. They have Crystal Palace away, then they have Spurs at home, then they have Liverpool away, City at home, and Leeds at home. So you're right; that's a tough run of games for Fulham. Whereas Newcastle, if I just go back, the thing is as well, mate. We play Fulham last game of the season. I genuinely think it's going to come down to last game.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
That is going to be that's you want to basically be safe by then, basically, because I think West Brom and Sheffield are gone. I don't think they've got a chance anymore. So you want them to be safe by then. And what I guess what do you think Steve Bruce can do? What just turn it around? Like, is there anything that he can do?
I think for me, it's something that we've all not wanted him to do. And that was sitting 5 member, playing 5 at the back. But I genuinely feel like I hate doing it because I'm being really contradictory here from what I've said previously, like earlier on in the season. But I think we do need to set up to be hard to beat, like we've been quite good at in the past. Okay. Because I don't think we can go out on the front foot and get goals at the moment. It's just not something we're going to be able to do. Maybe hit someone on the counter attack. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I want us to sit 5 at the back. You know, I'll take a boring rest of the season if we're going to stay in the league. To be honest.
I mean that is essentially in a way how you beat Manchester United because and now obviously as far as Manchester United injuries are concerned, we're obviously without Paul Pogba. We're also without one of our best players of all time in Phil Jones. He's not going to be. He's going to be there, so that's a massive blow for Manchester United. But yeah, Paul Pogba really is the only real major injury concern that's out of the team. United. Probably, I think it'll probably be similar to the team that started. De Gea will probably be in goal. I would love Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire to start, and I think this is where the weakness that I think Newcastle can exploit comes because any forward or any player that's a bit physical, that's got a bit of pace, can cause the Lindelof and Maguire partnership problems, and I'm sure Bruno will target that. As well as the fact they're not quick enough, so someone like Saint Maximin could be able to run at them and cause them problems as well. But that said, if Eric Bailly plays, which I would like him to, especially because we beat Sociedad, I think 4-0 quite convincingly. We don't rotate, so he's our best centre back. So I'd play him against Newcastle and then rest him against Sociedad, then play him again against Chelsea. Where I don't think Ollie's going to do that, but if we were playing Eric Bailly, I would be more confident. Midfield,
I'm a big fan of his, to be fair. I'm a big fan of Bailly's, definitely. He's not someone I want to see on the pitch, but I'm a big fan of his.
He's our best centre-back. It's really simple as that. Unfortunately, I don't know whether our manager realises it, and I think that I don't think because we early in the season when we're away to you guys, I think was he playing? I can't remember what he was playing. I remember that the score. I think it was 4-1. I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Who scored it? Was it Matty again?
It was.
Longstaff again. See, that's the one fear. For some reason, anytime Matty Longstaff plays against Manchester United, he scores. So that's my one player that I fear the most because I don't know what he does, what he has over that United midfield, but he scores goals. But
he hasn't played for 8 games, I think. He's not played much at all this season, but I do genuinely think just because he scored twice against that Steve Bruce might start him. I genuinely think that.
He will. I'm going to see him. He will. I no doubt he will see him and he will start him and he'll get that goal. And you're just like, for goodness sake, I don't know what it is. Maybe he sees, I don't know where Matty Longstaff is Scottish or something. He sees McTominay there and they're just like, you're Scottish, I'm Scottish. We just, it's all good. We have a little chat, and then he walks through the defense and everyone's just like, what's going on? So Cavani, Rashford, obviously Martial are probably going to be involved. So yeah, it's going to be a fairly strong Manchester United team, bar issue of Pogba. I think the big issue with us is that with the likes of West Brom last weekend and Sheffield, we're starting to have a problem where we again noticing that if you score first, I think that's the key for Newcastle getting something from this game. If you score first and then you put 10 men behind the ball, it'll be very, very difficult for us to break you down. And that's the best way for Newcastle to get something. If we score first, however, then it's probably going to be game over.
What is it about the United side at the moment that, because you've got a lot of quality in there, in terms of pace, not even pace, but Fernandes, Rashford, Cavani, obviously, and Martial. What is it that you think they find difficult about breaking these teams down once they're 1-0 down? Is it the pressure or what? Or
I think there's two things. I mean, most is if Andy Carroll starts and we have Lindelof, we're conceding 100%. That is true. Actually, how are you? Before I answer the question, what are your thoughts on Andy Carroll?
I like having him around the club, and I wrote him off, and then he turned up against Arsenal massively in the I think it was the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and it was absolutely brilliant. But we know, he played a full 90 minutes. He was all over the pitch. He had his best game in years, but he's not capable of that every week. But if you're saying that your centre halves are quite weak, aside from Eric Bailly, then we don't have much up top without Callum Wilson, and Dwight Gale had an opportunity against Chelsea, didn't do very well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Carroll does start, to be honest. Just to cause a bit of make himself a bit of a nuisance around the two centre halves, because he's a big lad at the end of the day. And I wouldn't mind seeing him be able to hold that ball up, bring Maximan, Almiron, and maybe Fraser into the game and see what we can do.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think that is what I'm saying is what will cause Manchester United the problems, because if Maguire and Lindelof start, I think that the height and the physicality is just something that I don't think those two can really deal with.
Yeah.
We saw that last week against I forgot who the West Brom player was called. I've forgotten his name, and even though I think it was a foul because he put his face on Lindelof's face, the physicality behind that, Lindelof still still had issues. So I think that's Newcastle's best chance, best way. And then if you put 10 men behind the ball, it'll be fine. But in answer to your question, like I said about why we struggle, I think a lot of it just comes down to creativity.
Okay.
So, McTominay and Fred aren't really creative players. They're hard workers, but they don't really create.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at players that actually create chances, create opportunities, Bruno Fernandes is probably the only one currently in that team that will do that. Luke Shaw's gotten better, so if he's playing on the left and the wing, he will try and deliver balls in and try and make passes. So that is something. And Pogba obviously can as well. But aside from that, you don't have any. Martial and Rashford don't really create opportunities, as they're more sort of inside forwards, because they're not really traditional wingers. Greenwood as well, so because we play with them out wide, but they're not really traditional wingers. Unlike, say, Salah and Mane, who are, and you can see sometimes they do come inside, but they do create often.
Yeah.
Rashford and Martial do not. And so whoever's playing number 9, which is usually Cavani, could potentially end up starved of service because of the lack of creativity. And you would just end up passing the ball around. And whereas if we have a team full of those players, which is what happened against, I think, Everton in the Carabao Cup earlier season, where we were playing Pogba, Van der Beek, Bruno Fernandes, Luke, I think it's Tellers or Shaw, whatever, and suddenly you have 4 or 5 creative players in the team that are just bopping things around. It makes a huge difference, but I don't think that's how we're going to start against Newcastle, so we won't have to worry about that. So I know obviously we've been going for a while. Your score predictions in this game. I mean, how do you see how do you see it going, Carl? How do you see it going, mate?
It's Rashford's directness that worries me, because our fullbacks have been terrible at the moment. And there's not been enough communication between the centre halves and the fullbacks as well, because he's going to have plenty of space to exploit. And I just think I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up getting a hat trick. To be honest, I think it could be a repeat of the first result at 4-1. I really do.
I still remember that Bruno Fernandes goal. I think they scored at that angle, So that's I think the second one. It was one of the few opportunities that he missed the penalty, though. So maybe that was a good omen, So he missed that penalty, and now
I'd have put my house on him scoring that penalty as well. Couldn't believe it.
Got a lot of banter from rival fans. Bruno Fernandes, of course, he misses penalties. This was before he scored this goal. So enough said. But yeah. What would you say is your specific score prediction then, and who do you think is going to score?
I'm gonna go 4-1 again to Manchester United.
Is there not any hope at all for Newcastle?
Yeah, it's so bad, because I do like these collaborations. I love doing them, but I must come across as so miserable, because I've just so resided to that we're going to get beat and just hope that we pull a lucky result out. And I just don't see it against yourselves, because you've just been pushing. Like, you didn't start great, but you've just been pushing on and on and on. And I think when you beat us 4-1, you weren't necessarily doing that well at that point either. And you in the last 10 minutes, you just put us to bed. So I think I'm going to go for a Marcus Rashford hat-trick and a goal from Cavani as well. And I think for Newcastle, I'm going to go for a Kieran Clark header.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I don't think that what I do agree with you is that I don't think that we're going to keep a clean sheet because of this, because I think he will probably start Lindelof and Maguire, even though I wish he wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, and I think that Joe Linton will score the goal. I know that might sound. I know that
I hope
outside.
he does.
We have this issue where like we play against. I think even against Sheffield. I think it was the first time one of the guys scored in the league all season, and we just gift goals. Either him or Andy Carroll will score.
To be fair though, mate, we do exactly the same. Like Timo Werner not been doing very well, and then he
Yeah.
goes and scores and gets an assist against us. Like we do it all the time. So if you've got anyone that's not in form, they're going to do unbelievably well against us tomorrow.
Well, then that's probably a good omen for Anthony Martial. Then, so
There you
sounds
are,
like
yeah.
Martial plays because he's not been having a great form, and I think that
Martial hat trick instead of Rashford. Then.
Yeah, I would suspect that he's probably going to play Cavani up top, and he's going to probably play Rashford on the right and Martial on the left. He probably will keep Greenwood off and maybe play him weekdays. So in that the case, yeah, Martial brace, and then Bruno Fernandes, who just keeps on scoring goals. He is. I mean, let me go into like before we finish, like. What are your thoughts on Bruno Fernandes? Like, is he arguably one of the best in the Premier League? You know, so far. Like, I mean, surely he's got to be one of the top players, if not the best player.
I don't understand the malice that people give him in terms of saying that he doesn't turn up in big games and that sort of stuff. Like, whenever I've seen him, he's been absolute quality. I could only wish that he was at Newcastle, to be honest. But yeah, 100% in that. Like, is he still playing in that kind of 10 role, the central attacking role?
Yes,
yeah. Like, he's definitely by far one of the best in the Premier League in that position right now. Definitely. Obviously, you've got your likes of Kevin De Bruyne and stuff, but you know, the sky's the limit for him. He was brilliant at Lisbon, and I think he'll do brilliant for yourselves. He already has done, and I think look forward to seeing what he can do.
Fair enough. Like I said, I think I'm probably going to go for a 3-1. I'll keep it more reserved with a 2 brace, and then Bruno Fernandes' goal, and either Linton or Andy Carroll to banter our centre backs yet again. Or who knows, you might keep a clean sheet, but somehow I doubt it. If you concede 2 goals to Sheffield, 1 to West Brom, and then 3 to Everton when you don't have to, with the same back 2.
Yeah.
Then I won't be surprised if Newcastle score at least 1 goal. You know, my personal.
I hope so, mate. I really do.
Again, lastly, before we round off, where do Newcastle go from here? Like, what do you think? Like, as a club, I know a lot of it's going to depend on where Newcastle finish, and hopefully they stay in the Premier League. Assuming they do stay in the Premier League, where do Newcastle go from here?
I think it's a difficult one. I think Newcastle, like if we do, like you said, arguably Steve Bruce has then done what he's been asked to do. But in the way it's come about, I think Newcastle's still got to have a serious consideration as to whether that's what he wants. But if Newcastle is still looking at that sort of that he's still got that sort of outlook as to what we are just staying in the Premier League, then I think it's not going to be any dissimilar as to what it has been until we're taken over, unfortunately. So I think the only way we are going to progress is, one, if Mike Ashley's suddenly had an epiphany after everything that's gone on that he really needs to sort something out, or we get taken over by new owners, mate. Otherwise, I'll just see it being a carbon copy year in, year out. And I think, really it has been for the last 5 or 6 years anyway.
Fair enough.
It's a worry.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much, Carl Common. I really, really do appreciate it. So,
thank you, mate.
Shout out again, your Newcastle Fan TV and Twitter and stuff like that.
So Newcastle Fans TV on YouTube. We've got a second channel, NFTV Extra. Twitter, Newcastle Fans TV is currently down at the moment. We've been suspended, but we'll be back up and running. We've got a Facebook page as well, Newcastle Fans TV, and then myself, I'm at Carl Newcastle if you want to come and follow me. But I really appreciate you having me on, mate. So enjoyed it.
I appreciate you coming on as well. I always appreciate bigger channels helping out small channels as well. So, and really wish you guys all the best. Guys, remember, if you're new to the channel, to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter, 9X. Smash the notification button for latest Manchester United news. Thanks, everyone, for watching. For those who will be watching later, have a nice day, everyone, and cheers.